Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah, it was a heck of a victory, man. And of course, you're now 8-1. That was your seventh finish, and the future looks bright for you. 8-2, rather, right? I'm sorry,
yeah,
8-2.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
okay.
you know.
And right now we're talking to Canadian Bantamweight Pro Jamie Siraj. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Fightlete Report. And of course, Jamie, who's come off a 37-second TKO finish over Blake Sigvladson, Rise FC4. That was last Saturday on July 27th. Big win for him, and he's 8-2 now. Big bantamweight prospect outside of the UFC with 7 finishes, and we see he trains at Toshido MMA in British Columbia. And you're joining us over there from British Columbia, right? Right now?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I actually don't train out of Toshido. I train
Okay.
at Revolution Martial Arts in Checkmat, Vancouver. Um,
Okay.
yeah, my opponent was from Toshido. That's probably where the mix up came in.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. I'm gonna train. I'm gonna be getting some cross training in there.
About how you discovered mixed, feel like you were able to come into the sport, and what made you passionate about it?
For me, like I grew up doing martial arts from a very young age. I grew up doing taekwondo and karate when I was a really young kid, and then from there I kind of made the transition. I stopped training for about 2 to 3 years with taekwondo and karate, and then when I was 14, I found mixed martial arts. My first coach ever was Cajun Johnson, out of Revolution Martial Arts in Chilliwack, and then from there, it was just kind of hook, line, and sinker. I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and I knew that being a mixed martial artist would be my career.
Excellent. And also talk about how you found the 37-second finish, the big TKO at Rise FC4. How did you feel about the performance? It was very crafty of you. You found that crucifix position in transition of sorts, and gained that big victory for yourself.
I saw it. I saw being able, like I saw me getting the finish. To say that I thought it would happen exactly like that. I mean, it's kind of one of those things. It was a chaotic fight right from the start. It was a short fight, but we didn't really have a feeling out process. We kind of got after it right away. He was trying to go for he entered in on a high crotch. I noticed his position was a little out. He was a little out of position on a couple things, and I hiked him up with the underhook. It's a throw that I actually use in the gym quite a bit. Unfortunately for him, he hit the back of his head pretty hard. That rocked him, and then the punches obviously were the finishing touches on top of it. So I mean, like for me, I'm very explosive. I'm very explosive from the start of the fight to the beginning of the fight. So there's no room for error fighting me. That whether it's a wrestling transition, a boxing transition, a jiu-jitsu transition, if you give me an inch, I'm going to take a mile in there. And that's kind of how my fighting style has been my entire career. It's why I have 7 of 8 of my victories are by finish. If you give me the opportunity to finish you, I'm going to take it.
Definitely. And also talk about, training Revolution Martial Arts. You do credit yourself, credit for helping you and your success so far.
Definitely. I mean, like I train with world-class guys there on a daily basis, from Bibiano Fernandez, the 1FC Bantamweight champion, my longtime friend, Craig McLean, who, is always helping me out. Guys like Tristan Connolly, Cole Smith, who, we also train together at Checkmat Vancouver, with guys like Achilles Estremadura, Josh Kowalski, who got a 15-second knockout on the card as well. Revolution has so many good guys from like Jared Ravel, who's probably going to be on the cusp of getting the UFC call here pretty quickly, and we have good amateurs there, high level professionals, and we have a good atmosphere there. We come in, get our work in.
Definitely. And also talk about your goal to be in the UFC. That's a huge priority for you right now. You feel like you've done enough to get there, and what would the opportunity for you to fight in Canada be? Because I know UFC is coming to Vancouver next month, and so talk about that potential opportunity for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, the UFC is where you want to be if you're a professional MMA fighter coming up. I mean, it's the pinnacle of the sport. And that's not to discount, promotions like Bellator or ONE FC. It's just for me, like,
Right.
I started this sport because I want to know that I can become the best in the world at this sport. Now, does that mean that there aren't guys in ONE FC that can beat guys in the UFC? Absolutely. I know Bibiano Fernandez could go into the UFC right now and become the UFC world champion.
Yes.
But unfortunately, the general consensus is if you're not the UFC champion, then you're not quite the best in the world. Maybe there's always that debate and that argument, but for me, I want to be in the UFC to prove to myself really that I can become one of the best bantamweights in the world. And as long as my feet are moving and my heart's beating and I'm able to keep training, that's what I'm looking for every day. Like, I'm not one of those guys that gets complacent coming off of victories and thinking, now's the time to take off. Now's the time to step it up even more. I didn't drink after my fight. I wasn't partying. I was back in the gym on Wednesday. I was dealing with a couple medical issues, so I had to take a couple days off after the fight. Otherwise, I would have been right back in there on Monday. But I love this sport. I love what I do. It's a privilege to be able to do what we do. And, I feel I've earned it. I feel I've earned my shot in the UFC now. I'm coming off of a 5-fight win streak. The only other guy I've lost to is Cole Smith, who's an undefeated bantamweight in the UFC, who's undefeated in the UFC now, too, who's a great training partner of mine. And I know how good he is. I know where he stands as far as in the world rankings, and I know where I stand as well. You know what I mean? I'm right up there. They give me my opportunity. They give me my opportunity to fight in the UFC. I'll be ready. If any, those bantamweights on the card, Luis Smoka, Ryan McDonald, or Brad Katona, any one of those guys get injured, I'm stepping in.
Okay. So it's something you kind of work with your manager on letting UFC know that you're available?
Yeah, I think at this point they know I'm available. I mean,
okay.
There's been a lot of buzz in their ear. They know who I am. They know who I am. They see the body of work that I'm putting in. I'm to be honest, I was a little surprised that they were in a rush to fill up the card that quickly with not a ton of Canadians on the card. Cole Smith being like the only guy, but I mean, me, Tristan Connolly, Jared Revell, we have great records, beating good guys, finishing guys, champions in other organizations, and like, I was a little shocked that one of us didn't get the call, to be honest. But I mean, you always got to be ready, as they say. Always be prepared. So I'm keeping my weight low. I'm gonna be on track. So if any of those bantamweights pull out, I'll be there. With the exception, obviously, I wouldn't obviously want to jump in against my teammate Cole Smith again. You know what I mean? Sure. Like, I'm building a good rapport with the guy. I like him as a person. He's a phenomenal training partner. But I know Cole, he, regardless of what was happening, he would never pull out. So, I mean, I'm just hoping for one of those other two bantamweight fights, someone, just roll their ankle. I'm not even wishing anything bad upon them. Roll your ankle so I can jump in there,
I understand you at this point. And obviously that's the hard work that you put in. You definitely want to see that dream come to fruition. So, talk about also, what's next for you? Do you have other fights lined up? I know you're the Battlefield FC champion. You're the first ever bantamweight champion for Battlefield FC, and you've got obviously a lot of promotions. They want you to fight for their titles as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the current unified MMA bantamweight champion. I was the first ever BFL pro bantamweight champion.
Right.
I mean, Rise FC, obviously, they would be interested in giving me it was supposed to be a title shot for that fight, but unfortunately, Chad and Hellinger is injured right now. He's dealing with a hand injury, so that fight couldn't come together. I think right now, as of right now, I'm going to kind of wait and see what my options are. You know what I mean? I feel
Okay,
like one way or another, my next fight is going to be in a major organization,
sure.
whether that's UFC or wherever it is. But, Sean Shelby, Dana White, I'm letting you know, I want to get to you guys first. So come on, you got to pick me up soon.
Yeah, definitely, man. Hopefully it happens for you. And then also, I'm not sure if you know her, but Sarah Moras, she's from British Columbia. She's going to be fighting one of the first female fights ever happen in Abu Dhabi at September. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I've met Sarah on I met her at UFC Edmonton when I was
Okay.
cornering Cajun Johnson. My first ever coach, Cajun Johnson. Um, we were up there, and I hung. We were hanging out with her and her team a bit, and they seemed just like great people. And I know Sarah's ground game is nasty. You give that girl your arm, she's gonna take it home. She comes out of a great camp in Toshido MMA in Kelowna. So she's got the
Right.
right people behind her. She's I see her. I see the Canadian pulling off the upset out there, and I see Sarah taking that victory for sure.
Definitely. And yeah, we're definitely excited for that card as well. And then moving forward, man, where can we follow you, and what can we expect in your next performance, whether it be UFC, whatever promotion? I'm sure everybody's going to check you out. I'm going to check it out, but why should everybody check it out? And what can we expect?
Violence.
Yeah,
Violence when I fight, whether it's on the feet or on the ground, you can expect more finishes to come. Whether that's in the UFC or I gotta, go take another local regional fight. I mean, I'll do whatever it takes. But I mean, right now I've kind of found my stride in that cage, and I've kind of figured out just to be myself in there. And I always knew that when I would figure that out, that all these guys would be in a lot of trouble, and they are. And whoever
definitely.
gets in that cage with me next, they're in a lot of trouble.
And any interest to come to the U.S. to fight?
I would love to come to the U.S. I
Yeah.
mean, there hasn't been many offers. I mean, I think as far as at a certain time in my career, there wasn't much value to bringing me to a fight in the U.S. But I mean, with an 8-2 record, if a place like Legacy Fighting Alliance called, I would definitely jump all over that. At the end of the day, man, I've been scraping by with these little paychecks that I'm getting.
Right.
I want to start to make some money off this sport. I put in a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifices. I bit the bullet on a lot of shit. I kept my mouth shut when there were certain promotions that I knew weren't paying me what they could have.
Right.
At the end of the day, I want to be able to make some money now. So I mean, one way or another. I mean, like Rise FC is one of the first promotions that has really gone out of their way to compensate me, give me a great deal on tickets, pay me a good fight purse. So I just want to keep that momentum going and keep that money coming. And us fighters, uh, we go through periods of time, man, where it's rough in between fights, especially if we're not being active. So I mean, I want to make money and I want to be in the best organizations in the world. So whether that's UFC, ONE FC, wherever it is. I mean, that's where I'm looking to go.
Definitely. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, Jamie Siraj, and make sure to follow him on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, right? You have a Twitter as well? To
Yeah,
let
yeah. I
everybody
have
know.
Twitter, Gremlin4L, Jamie Siraj on Facebook, and Jamie.Siraj on Instagram. So give me a follow, guys. I'd like to thank just a couple sponsors that
Sure,
were
go ahead.
really helpful in this training camp, and just in my life, Intention.com, the powerful Connie Linder, Trent Whittle from Catalyst Kinetics, the guy's the best physiotherapist in the country. I want to thank Casey Bruneck from Main Street Nightclub for sponsoring me throughout my whole entire pro career. Todd Tomey from Rocksteady Drywall. Want to give a thanks to Darwin and Francine Douglas from Cham Trading Post. I mean, they've taken care of me my whole career, and everyone that's a Jamie Siraj fan right now, keep watching because the victories are going to keep stacking, and you can expect me to just keep winning more fights, and finishing people.
All right. Well, I appreciate the time, Jamie, for being on the show. And Good best of luck to you, and we look forward to having you on again before your next fight.
Absolutely. I would love to anytime, man.
All right. Take care, Jamie. Have a good one.
Take care. You too.
Bye.
Awesome.